Jen, and I'm back with another process video. I'm going to be using the August Felicity Jane Here's the Scoop kit, and I am using these two photos of my daughter and my nieces on their back to school shopping trip, which is an annual tradition. I just wanted to also let you know that I am using a few of these little stars that are from Felicity Jane cut file. Felicity Jane is now in the Silhouette online store, so if you have a Silhouette, you can purchase these shapes in the Silhouette online store. There's lots of fun things. There's print and cuts, printable, like a little printable poster thing, and lots of really cute things, so be sure to check that out. I'll make sure that I link it below the video. So I'll go ahead and get started.
So I'm going to start with this light blue kind of aqua colored background, cardstock background, and this is a little bit different for me because I almost always start with a white background, just because I love white and I like the freshness and the cleanness that it gives. But these photos were so light that I decided that the blue was going to be a nice change for me. I'm using two photos, and one is square and one is like whatever the size your phone makes photos, I don't know. And I just printed them on my Canon selfie, and I'm going to use this white piece of paper to bring some of that lightness to the page, and I'll end up putting it down the side. At first I think I'm going to put it down the right hand side, but I'll end up moving it over to the left. And I'm using that card from the cut apart sheet that's an ampersand, and I just like how it has the 4 different strips of color, and putting it in between the photos makes the photos connected, and I like the way that is. So the ampersand doesn't really mean anything. It's just like this photo and this photo kind of a thing. So I know I want to scatter those stars, those cute, they're like the, open stars. I love that kind of star. It's a fun look down the side. And I'm also thinking about using these speech bubbles, and I think they're really cute. And I remembered that in a past Scraptastic Felicity Jane kit, sorry Gina, in a past Felicity Jane kit, there was a stamp set that had a speech bubble in it. And so I pulled that one out, and I'm going to stamp one of the phrases from this month's stamp set that says all smiles into that little speech bubble. I just pulled out a scrap of white cardstock to do that on, and I'm just going to stamp it in black. And I think it's a fun look. I have said this every single time, but I love the stamps in these kits. They're really adorable. And I'm a big fan of stamping on my layouts. So you'll see me stamp on nearly every layout, at least a roller stamp. And I'm just going to cut around that, leaving a little bit of a border, just like I did on the 2 speech bubbles from the cut apart sheet. I'm mostly using the Here's the Scoop kit, which is the August kit. My September kit should be to me any day. So I'm excited to start working with that one. If you haven't seen the sneaks, be sure to check them out. You can look at her on Instagram, Felicity Jane, or I think it might be Felicity Jane Studio, but felicityjane.com as well. I'm using the gold stickers that came in the kit that are from Maggie Holmes Confetti, I think, and I'm using the smaller font. So it comes with 8 sheets of stickers, which is awesome, and it comes with a larger and a smaller font in both upper and lowercase. So I'm using all of the uppercase in the smaller font. It's the same font, but it's just a smaller size. And I'm going to do girls plus shopping equals fun. And you'll see in just a second how I kind of work that out. I'm using some wax paper like I always do, just so I can move around my title. And you'll see that it's really convenient, especially when you decide to change your mind. So I start like this, and I move it around quite a lot, and then I saw the speech bubble and it says fun on it, so I thought that could be the end of my title. And so now I'm looking for something that I can use for the equals, and I'm going to cut 2 little pieces off the M and use that for equals. And then I kind of am creating a line up and down the right hand side of the photo with the speech bubbles, and so I thought to reinforce that, rather than having a line on the right and the left, I'll just have one line on the right. So I moved that piece of paper over, and now everything's going to feel a little bit more connected. it was feeling a little bit disconnected before. You don't know whether you're supposed to focus on the right or the left hand side. So bringing it all together really helps. So I'll mix in the stars with those speech bubbles and bring it all together. Right now I'm looking for something that I can use as a strip to separate that white paper from the cardstock. And while I'm waiting, I know I want the stars to be almost the same color as the cardstock background. So I pulled out my Mr. Huey's and I ended up using, I think, Bazinga, and it is the perfect shade. And so I'm going to use Bazinga, and then I'm also using some Heidi Swapp Gold Color Shine for just 2 of the stars, so I can have a bit of a different look to reinforce the golds that I used for the title. And I just use an old Felicity Jane box to do my misting in, you saw there. And now I am going to go back again to see what I can find to separate that white piece of pattern paper from the background. That floral paper, which is my favorite paper in the kit, has not made it onto a layout yet, but I'm determined to do it. It doesn't make it onto this one, but I will eventually get that used. The back of this paper is cute too with the confetti. That would have worked also. So I just cut a little strip of that yellow card or pattern paper, and I'm going to place it in between these 2 pieces of paper, and I'm going to stitch down the middle of it, or more towards actually the right hand side of it, just trimming off the overhang a little bit, and then I'll just drag my sewing machine over. I just have it on the edge of my desk, and so I can pull it over whenever I need to use it. I haven't used it in a while, so I thought it would be a good touch to add to this layout. And I just have white thread in there usually. Sometimes I'll change it out. I just pulled out some washi tape to secure the ends, and now I can assemble the layout. So before I get all of the stuff stuck down, I know I want to do some splattering, and so I'm using that same Bazinga ink from Mr. Huey's to create some splatter just up and down that column. Again, I'm just reinforcing that vertical column, and I'm going to use some Heidi Swapp Gold Color Shine also. And that color shine gives the prettiest shiny gold splatters. I love it. So I'm going to cut a little tiny strip off of the top and the bottom of that card just so that it has a little bit, so that it rests in between the photos and it's a little bit smaller rather than a little bit larger. So I want to make sure that that happens. And then I'm going to glue the photos to the ampersand, and then I will glue the whole thing to the background. Just want to make sure that I get those put together the way that I like. And I'm using my American Crafts mat there to line up the bottom so that it's straight, because I have a hard time with getting things straight. And I'm pretty much centering that. And I like the way it looks. It's kind of like a T shape turned on the side. That is a design that I go back to over and over. Whether that vertical column is right against the side or whether it's moved over a little bit more toward the middle, when you intersect 2 columns together, it always looks good. So now I'm putting down my title, and I'm just making sure when I lay down the letters that there's nowhere in the letter that you can see more than one pattern through. So on the N, I made sure that it's hard to explain, but made sure that the line that goes up and down on the very left, where that comes down, you see yellow to the right of it, and it goes all the way across the letter, if that makes any sense. I didn't want to see the blue cardstock and the yellow pattern behind it. So now I'm just laying that all down. I have the fun popped up on some thin foam adhesive, as well as the all smiles. I'm about to do that now. Maybe I don't have it popped up yet, but I'm about to do it, just so that it can give it a little bit of emphasis. There we go. And I'm thinking about using that flare badge, but I decide not to. And I went to some of my past kits because I knew there were some speech bubbles in there, because I felt like I needed one more at the top. I'll end up deciding against that, but I pulled them out just to see. And then I thought maybe it would be nice to have something to the left of Girls Plus Shopping, and I was thinking about using it in an arrow. And I am going through, I have all of my past kits in a big box, that same iris container that I keep all of my kits in, which I will be sure to link to because I get a lot of questions about that. You can get them at Michael's or Joann's or Hobby Lobby, I think, too. Anyway, so I'm just searching through some of the older cut aparts, and I found that chevron piece, so I'm going to cut the 2 black pieces off and use those for my arrow. So now I've got 2 heavy areas with the black, and I'm going to look next for something else that's dark that I can bring up to the top so I can make kind of like a triangle of that color because it feels really heavy at the bottom right now. I found that little tab, and it's got polka dots, little tiny white polka dots on it, but it's mostly black, and I'm just going to put it at the top and stamp the date on it in black. I found some cute glasses, which I thought was fun for back to school. It's on a flare from a past kit, but I decided not to use it. There are a lot of things I decided not to use. I definitely went with the stars, though. I feel like stars are a great icon, and for back to school, I think it's a great icon as well. I know my last layout that I created with the Felicity Jane kit was about a back to school tradition, and this is about another back to school tradition. So I've just been scrapbooking back to school stuff lately. I don't know. It just worked. So there I stamped the date, not the actual date, just the month and year, which I love using my Chamel roller date stamp for when I just want to do the month and year because they're right next to each other. And now I'm going to arrange the stars. So they're pretty much dry. They're still a little bit wet, but I don't care. I'm too impatient to wait for things to dry like that. So I'm using my Scotch Quick Dry adhesive in a fine line bottle, which helps me get really precise glue. And so I love using that. You can see it there. And I'm using 3 of the Bazinga colored misted stars and 2 of the gold. And I just sprinkled them up and down that column. So all the embellishment is pretty much close to the photos or close to the column. And I like the way that it really focuses your attention on those areas. So now I'm just placing that tab down and cutting off the excess of that star at the top. And I'm going to add a few more splatters of the gold mist. And now I am seeing if a white pen will work for my journaling. And I'm going to journal on top of that card that has the multicolored stripes on it. And you can see it really well on the pink and the red. I will admit on the yellow and the blue it doesn't show up as well, but in real life you can see it. And the blue is where it shows up the worst, but it doesn't say anything super important on that line. So if somebody weren't able to read it, then it wouldn't really matter. But really in real life, you can see it. So I thought that was a fun touch. I haven't written in a white pen for a long time. And that is my Sakura Jelly Roll pen. And I like it. And now I'm taking my trusty little Muji pen in black. It's really thin, and I'm just outlining the whole outside to kind of contain everything. I felt like it needed that. And for a final touch, I'm just adding some enamel dots that came in the kit. They're from the Crate Paper Wonder collection, and that is going to finish things off. I'm going to use a few different colors. I started out with just that red color because I wanted to create some more balance because I've got a big shot of the reddish color on the top and in the stripe, so I wanted to bring some to the bottom. So you'll see that I'm changing out a few of the colors here though. And that's going to complete it. I hope that this video gave you some ideas on what you can do with your kits. And if you haven't tried the Felicity Jane kits, they're really awesome and original, and the papers can't be beat. I love the paper patterns. So you can find out more on my blog at craftygenscow.com, where I'll link to all of the products that I used, and you can find out more about Felicity Jane kits on felicityjane.com. Thank you so much for watching, and hello to all my new subscribers. I really appreciate your support.